Yeah.
Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. We have one of the top non-conference games of the season on deck this Saturday as number 22 Auburn travels to Happy Valley to take on number 10 Penn State for the annual whiteout game. The annual whiteout game. Guys, the crowd is going to be electric on Saturday night. We didn't get to have a whiteout game in 2020. Now the whiteout game is back against a high-quality SEC opponent. The first time the whiteout game is not a team named Ohio State or Michigan since 2011. Happy Valley will be rocking Saturday night. College game days in town, and we're going to break down everything you need to know for this matchup between Auburn and Penn State right now. So again, guys, welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. As always, make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and also make sure to check out everything down in the description below. Especially go sign up for those expert picks, guys. A link for that down in the description over on the gridironexpert.com. We just put out our Week 3 spread picks for the week, both college and NFL. So make sure you go sign up for those today if you haven't already so you don't miss out on that analysis. And it's a year-long subscription, so really you can sign up at any point this season and benefit for the entire season. And I promise you guys, you will benefit from it. It's a decision and a sign-up that you will not regret, and honestly will be one of the best decisions that you make all season long. So again, make sure to go check that out down in the description. So let's take a look at this game, guys. Again, everybody sometimes says that the whiteout game for Penn State is overrated and it's not as cool as you want to say. I wholeheartedly disagree with that. This is going to be probably the best atmosphere in all of college football this Saturday for what I think is one of the better traditions in all of college football. And this is going to make for a very intriguing matchup, guys. Again, number 22 versus number 10. A win here for Penn State, solidifying themselves again, continuing to solidify themselves as a playoff contender. A win here for Auburn over a top 10 opponent on the road would make Auburn a playoff contender. They would be entering that discussion as they begin SEC conference play. Let's go ahead and break it down for you right now. We'll start on the offensive side of the ball. We'll start with the Tigers. So far, under brand new head coach Brian Harsin, Auburn has looked great. Offensively, Auburn has looked unstoppable. They dropped 60 points in their first game. They dropped 62 points in their second game. The problem is they played Akron in their first game, and they played Alabama State in their second game. They haven't played anybody. Auburn went in there and took care of business as a good team should. They beat Akron and Alabama State by respective margins as they should. They're averaging 575.5 yards per game in those two games. That includes an average of 340 rushing yards per game. But again, can that translate against a top 10 opponent at their house? You know, anybody can beat Akron. Anybody can beat Alabama State. Can Auburn keep up those ridiculous offensive numbers against a good Penn State team, which we'll touch on here in a second. But you look at Bo Nix, guys. I will give him a lot of credit. A guy who never really seemed to find his groove under Gus Malzahn seems to have found it under Brian Harsin. And yes, I know it's just been 2 games. I know he has not faced a defense like he will see on Saturday night. But Bo Nix, in those 2 games, just 10 combined incompletions, 383 yards, 5 touchdowns. He's looked great. The rushing game, obviously unbelievable. Jarquez Hunter, 257 yards. Tank Bigsby, one of the best running backs in the SEC, maybe even the nation, 241 yards. Auburn wants to run the football, and they're going to be able to do that. That is what they want to do, and they have 2 great running backs in their backfield to do that. Again, the million-dollar question is, can they do it Saturday against Penn State? We take a look at Penn State's offense. Coming into the season, we continue to stress the importance of their big 3. Their quarterback in Sean Clifford, the return of their running back in Noah Cain, and then their top wide receiver in Jahan Dotson. We said that's the big 3 for Penn State's offense. If they stay healthy and they continue to gel, this team, sky's the limit, really. And so far, the big 3 for Penn State, they've been doing exactly what we thought they would do. Those 3 players, guys, have accounted for 5 of the 6 offensive touchdowns that Penn State has scored this season. They've scored 6 offensive touchdowns. Clifford, Cain, and Dotson have been responsible for 5 of them. So they are this Penn State offense. And they're a balanced offense, too. James Franklin made it very clear that he wants to have a balanced offense, and they're doing that. 250 passing yards per game, 145 rushing yards per game. So they're not one-dimensional. Auburn isn't either. But Penn State isn't. You take away the pass, all right, we can run. Take away the run, okay, we can pass. And I think Sean Clifford, for me, has shown major improvement this year. 477 yards, 2 touchdowns through the air, has rushed for 71 yards, and also has a rushing touchdown. And I really think for me, what was the turning point for me for Sean Clifford was the way he performed at Wisconsin in Week 1. Penn State winning that game 16-10 behind the strength of their defense, but behind the leadership of Sean Clifford, who was getting a lot of hate in 2020, has turned a corner and has really improved now in 2021. We take a look at the defense, and we'll start again with Auburn here. Can Auburn slow down the Penn State Big Three? That is the million-dollar question. Can they force someone other than Clifford, Kane, or Dotson to score a touchdown for the Nittany Lions? When you look at Auburn, like their offense, we don't know how good they truly are. Because, again, their defense has been phenomenal. They shut out Alabama State. They only allowed 10 points to Akron. So in 2 games, they've allowed an average of 5 points. But again, against very weak opponents. This will be the first true test to see, all right, how strong is this Auburn defense? But when you look at what we have seen, I don't expect Auburn to go get annihilated defensively by Penn State because the talent is there. Very, very strong front seven. First off, very strong front seven. A defense that has allowed in those 2 games a combined 364 yards. Not average, a combined 364 yards and a total of 43 rushing yards in those 2 games. And then again, that comes back to credit the front seven. The penetration, the push up front by the defensive line, very strong linebacker play. This could be a game where Sean Clifford has to win the game through the air if Auburn continues to shut down the run like they have in those first 2 games of the year. And another thing, I'll add on top of that, Penn State's offensive line has been it's been mediocre so far in their first 2 games. Clifford has already been sacked 5 times in those first 2 games. If Auburn's defensive line can break through, create some pressure, force Sean Clifford, who, yes, is mobile, but he's not the most mobile, if they can force him out of the pocket, Auburn can be able to get a few sacks, get a few bad throws. Who knows what can happen, but if you get him out of the pocket, I don't think Clifford's going to be as good as obviously he can stand tall and deliver his throws. So Auburn, the key for them is going to be getting that penetration, shutting down Noah Kane, forcing Sean Clifford to win the game through the air. He's been pressured enough as it is. If Auburn continues to do that, they're going to have a very good chance to go in there and win this ball game. Penn State defensively. We knew coming into the season they were one of the best in the Big Ten. They are proving that again. To me, they're one of the best in the country. This defense is legit. They're the real deal. They were amazing against Wisconsin. Last week, they shut down a solid Ball State team. Say what you want about that, but Ball State won the MAC last year. They returned like 19 starters, and Penn State beat them, 44-13? They took care of business. Right now, Penn State's allowing an average of 205 passing yards per game and 124.5 rushing yards per game. Not bad numbers in either way. One thing that impresses me more than anything, though, is that Penn State right now, they're ball hawks. They're getting after both teams. They are forcing turnovers. They have forced 5 turnovers already this season. They've allowed 5 sacks on the offensive line, but the defense has created 5 turnovers. And like Auburn, they know how to pressure the quarterback. They do. Penn State has already racked up 3 sacks this year. They have 12 tackles for a loss. So their defensive line, which was a bit of a concern coming into this season, knowing they only had 1 returning starter up front. I know they added some transfers, but only 1 true returning starter up front of the defensive line has, to me, exceeded expectations. And from top to bottom, defensive line, linebacking core, secondary, Penn State's defense has thrived. And again, has solidified themselves as one of the best, not just in the Big Ten, but in the entire country. So what is going to happen in Happy Valley? Again, the site of College Game Day, an electric atmosphere, because here's the way, guys, I look at it. Look, the whiteout game is always electric. The whiteout game is always going to be sold out. It's always going to be rocking. But think about it. Now more than ever. Because last year there was no whiteout game. There was no whiteout game in 2020. So the Penn State faithful were going to show up. They're going to show up. They're going to show out in a big, big way on Saturday. And that's why if you're not going to watch any other college football game this weekend, you need to watch this game. Because not only is it going to be a great football game, but the atmosphere is going to be unbelievable. And on Saturday night, guys, like we mentioned earlier, this is a game for both teams that is huge in terms of their national hopes. And by that we mean playoff. Penn State is the 10th ranked team in the country. They already have a quality road win over Wisconsin. They win a game against a ranked, good SEC team in Auburn. Their resume does get stronger and stronger. And Penn State is a legitimate playoff contender. If Auburn were to win this game, They would have a road win over a top 10 opponent. Anybody out there that's saying, oh, Auburn's not that good because they only beat Akron and Alabama State, they would have to shut up because they just went on the road in a whiteout game and took down number 10 Penn State. And Auburn would jump from 22nd to maybe even the top 10, if not right outside of it, and they would be taken seriously not just as a contender in the SEC, but as a playoff contender as well. The stakes are high for both of these teams. But here's the thing. Auburn is not going to win this game. The stakes may be high, but Auburn does not have what it takes to come into Happy Valley and beat the Nittany Lions. They do not have what it takes to beat a Nittany Lions team that has won 3 of the last 4 whiteout games. The only loss in that time coming in 2018, they lost to Ohio State by 1, 27-26. Penn State, guys, to me, is a completely different team. They're a team riding a 6-game winning streak dating back to last year. 0-5 start, won their final 4. They've carried that momentum into 2021, won their first 2. They're the 10th ranked team in the country. They deserve it. The offense is great, and to me, the defense is great, and that to me is the difference maker. This defense for Penn State, to me, owns the edge over the Auburn defense. Penn State's defense owns the edge. They own the home field advantage. And if Penn State gets in there and shuts down the run, Jarquez Hunter and, of course, Tank Bigsby, they shut them down and force Bo Nix to win the game through the air, Penn State could easily take the ball and run away with it. Can easily run away with this game because I don't have faith in Bo Nix to come into such a hostile road environment and win the game solely through the air. Yes, it looks like he's improved, but against who? Akron and Alabama State. Auburn has not been tested. And their first true test is the whiteout game at Penn State. Talk about not being a very ideal first true road game and first true test for your football team. We're going to see a lot of what Auburn is made of. We're going to see a lot of what Penn State is made of. But at the end of the day, the Nittany Lions are the better team. The Nittany Lions are the better team. They own the defensive edge. They own the home field edge. Give Auburn the offensive edge if you want. It's not going to matter. The Nittany Lions defense shows up. They show out for their home crowd. They win their 4th whiteout game in the last 5 appearances. 4th whiteout game in the last 5 whiteout games. And Penn State, guys, will solidify themselves as a true playoff contender. Their resume gets only stronger. And by the end of the night, we may be saying that Penn State is the best team in the Big Ten East. So there you have it, guys. One of the biggest games of the weekend, one of the most highly anticipated non-conference games of the year. Number 22 Auburn, number 10 Penn State. Do not miss this game. We've got the Nittany Lions winning it, but it's going to be a good one. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. Check out everything down in the description below. Again, those expert picks, they aren't going anywhere. They're over on thegridironexpert.com. One of the best decisions you'll make all year long is signing up for those expert picks over on our website. So make sure to go do that, again, before Saturday starts so you can get access to our Week 3 picks for both college and NFL. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.